Hey everyone, I'm Marbozir and welcome to Pillars of Eternity. So, if you don't know what Pillars of Eternity is, it's the newest RPG by Obsidian, published by Paradox, and it's a spiritual successor to classic RPGs on Infinity Engine, like Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale, and Planescape Torment. Pillars of Eternity does not use the Infinity Engine, but it's inspired by it, so if you played any of the RPGs on Infinity Engine, this game will feel very familiar. The game was kickstarted back in 2012, and it will be released on 26th March. So, without further ado, let's jump into the game. Now obviously, since this is an RPG, it's a story-based game, so spoiler warning. Okay, so, the game has 4 difficulty settings, and you can change the difficulty level as you play, with the exception of Path of the Damned. If you start the game on Path of the Damned difficulty, this cannot be changed. And the game warns you about this. There's also Expert mode and Trial of Iron. Trial of Iron is basically Iron Man, so there's only one save file, and if you die, you have to start over from the beginning. And there's Expert mode, which disables some helper features. As for the difficulty, I think I'll start on normal, and if the game feels too easy, I'll bump it up to hard. Yep. Okay, so, when you first start the game, you only create one character, but you will get a chance to create more characters as the game progresses. And there are also companions that will join your party. But you will get a chance to create more than one character, just not at the start. You start with one.
5 wagons grope blindly for the path on a starless night, their master glancing ever upward to the skies for assurance that he is on the right course. A dim lantern his only protection against the encroaching darkness. But the skies bring no comfort, shining no light, betraying no hint of what they know. The caravan carries travelers bound for the frontier hamlet of Gilded Vale, you among them, where a local lord has offered land and wealth to settlers from abroad looking for a fresh start. You have taken suddenly ill, sweating and shivering, and one of the other travelers signals for the caravan master to stop on your behalf. He pulls up just in time to avoid plowing into the trunk of a fallen tree that bars the way ahead. You will go no further tonight.
Alright, so, character creation. Now, I already know what exactly I want to play as my first character, but I'll go over all these options, so you can see what's available in the character creation, and what exactly can be done here. We are going to be male, and there are 6 different races. The race affects attributes. Each race gets different bonuses and penalties to attributes, so I'll go over them really quickly. If you want to read what exactly these attributes affect, feel free to pause the video and read the tooltips, but I won't be reading every single tooltip out loud. So anyway, humans get +1 resolve and +1 might. The Amawa, or whatever, I have no idea how to pronounce that, get +2 might. Then we got the dwarves. They also get +2 might, but at the same time, they get -1 dexterity and +1 constitution. Then we got the elves. They get +1 dexterity and +1 perception. The Orlan, they get +1 resolve, -1 might, and +2 perception. And finally, the Godlike. They get +1 dexterity and +1 intellect. So the Godlike are the only race that gets +1 or any kind of bonus to intellect, which is interesting. I'm going to be playing as the Godlike. Once you choose your race, you can choose your sub-race, and the sub-races also get bonuses, but these are not attribute bonuses. Some of these are actually really interesting. So in this case, as a Godlike, we can be a Death Godlike, and then we get a damage bonus against enemies with 15% or less endurance. We can be a fire godlike, which looks awesome. And then when we are reduced below 50% endurance, we will get a damage shield. Yep. And extra damage reduction. Then we also got the Mon Godlike. If we are reduced below 75%, 50% or 25% endurance, endurance are basically hit points. Then we will generate waves of healing moonlight that restore endurance to them and their allies. That's really damn good, actually. And finally, we got the Nature Godlike, which grants a bonus to Might, Constitution, and Dexterity when endurance is below 50%. Now, I'm really tempted to play as Fire Godlike because this just looks badass, but the Moon Godlike bonus seems really amazing. I think I'll play as the Moon Godlike. Alright, so before I continue, I'll go over the other sub-races really quickly. So we got the Hearth Orlan. When attacking any target that is also being targeted by a teammate, Hearth Orlans convert some of their hits into crits. Oh, that's quite interesting. We got the Wild Orlan. After being subjected to a will attack, Wild Orlans temporarily gain a bonus to all defenses. Let's check the elves. We got the Wood Elf. Against any enemy that is more than 4 meters away, Wood Elves gain bonuses to accuracy, deflection, and reflex. Okay? And Pale Elf. All Pale Elves have increased burn and freeze damage reductions. That sounds pretty boring. We got a Mountain Dwarf. Mountain Dwarves have a bonus to defend against poison and disease attacks. Yeah, that sounds pretty boring. And Boreal Dwarves. They gain plus 15 accuracy against any creature of the wilder or primordial types. So far the godlike bonuses are the most interesting ones, I have to say. And these guys, the coastal type, they gain bonuses to defend against prone and stun effects. That's potentially pretty useful. And the island version, they get an additional weapon set. And finally, humans. Once per encounter, 5 seconds after being reduced below 50% endurance, they can temporarily gain bonuses to accuracy and damage, okay? The ocean type, once per encounter, blah blah blah, when reduced below 50%, they gain bonuses to accuracy and damage. Is this exactly the same? That seems to be exactly the same. Okay, so these 3 types are exactly the same? Alright. Anyway, godlike. I have to say, these bonuses are the most interesting ones. I'm really torn between Fire Godlike purely for looks, because this just looks amazing, and the Moon Godlike for this bonus. I'll go with the Moon Godlike. Okay, so we can also choose the body type. Human one, or these guys. Alright, this is fine. The body type is purely for looks, it doesn't actually affect any bonuses. And now the class, which is the most important choice. There are quite a few classes, and many of them will look very familiar. But I'm going to play as the Cipher. The Cipher is a bit of a hybrid. It's a mix of a melee and a caster class. They use Focus, which is a resource that's generated in combat, in melee. So it basically involves meleeing your targets to generate Focus, and then you can use Focus to cast spells. That's the gist of it. So, they don't get a lot of endurance per level, or a lot of health. They get decent deflection, which is the defense used to resist direct melee and ranged attacks, and average accuracy, +1 stealth, +1 lore, and +1 mechanics. Okay then. Let's play as the Cipher. Now, we get to choose 2 powers. We'll be able to choose more once we level up. So let's have a look. Actually, I'll go over all of these spells. So first we got Antipathetic Field, which creates a beam between the Cipher and the target, enemy target specifically, which damages anything caught between the two. That's a pretty interesting one. That's 10 to 20 base damage. Okay. Then we got Eye Strike, which blinds the target. Also dazes the target, which reduces their accuracy, dexterity, perception, intellect, and speed. And there's also AoE blind attack. Oh, okay, so it dazes and blinds the target, and then it blinds all the targets around the target. Okay? As in, around the enemy that you directly targeted. Then we got Mind Wave, which is a damaging attack. So, 10 to 18 base damage on the target. And there's also an AoE knockback. Characters in an area behind the target are knocked if they fail a fortitude check. So knocked targets can't take actions. Their dexterity is reduced by 2, reflex and deflection are reduced by 10. Then we got Soul Shock. So this is also a damage attack, but this is an AoE. Oh yeah, this one targets a friendly party member, and it damages everything around that party member. So you can't use this on yourself. You have to use this on an allied target. Yeah, this sounds quite useful. Then we got Tenuous Grasp, which frightens and confuses the target. So frightened status effect reduces dexterity and accuracy by 10, and resolve by 10. No, resolve and dexterity by 2 and accuracy by 10. Yeah, reducing dexterity by 10 would be a bit of an overkill. Then confused affliction makes the target behave erratically. Every 6 seconds, if they fail a check, they will behave normally, attack an ally, walk in random direction, or do nothing. Okay then. And we got Whisper of Treason. So this is basically a charm. We can make the enemy fight for us. I think I'll pick this one up. Yeah, that's potentially super useful. Other than that, I do like Soul Shock a lot. However, I know we'll go solo for a little bit, not for very long. So I wouldn't mind having a direct damaging attack, like this one. Yeah, I wouldn't mind having this. And I'll probably pick up Soul Shock after my first level up. These are all quite useful. But Mind Wave and Whisper of Treason. And then we'll pick up Soul Shock as our third ability, probably. Alright, so that's that. And now we get to spend 15 attribute points. Our main attribute is Intellect, but since we are a melee caster hybrid, Might and Dexterity also matter for us. Not as much as Intellect though. So let's raise it to 17. We will get a chance to raise this a little bit further in a moment. So 14 Might, 14 Dexterity. Another thing I should add is that there will be a lot of events and dialogue options and such in-game that will require certain attributes to be above certain value. So these attributes affect a lot more than just combat. And 2 more points. Raise Intellect a little bit more. Maybe some constitution. Yeah, we're going to need some constitution. This looks fine. And now we get to pick our culture, which will give us an additional bonus to our attributes. So we can get +1 resolve, +1 dexterity, +1 resolve, +1 intellect. I'll probably go with +1 intellect, +1 constitution, +1 might, and +1 perception. I'll go with intellect, I think. This also gives us slightly different starting gear. I wouldn't mind getting a bow right at the start, but I do like the idea of having +1 intellect. On the other hand, I can always go back here, move this point, and just go with the bow. That's basically the same exact effect. Maybe. Or we could get a shield that's +1 dexterity. This isn't that important, we will get a lot of loot as we go. Okay, let's go with the bow. Maybe. Right, let's go with this. So, 18 intellect. I can reduce might by 1. And maybe get 19 intellect. We'll have 14 might, 14 dexterity, and 19 intellect. That seems reasonable to me. Yep, sounds good. And now we can also choose our background. This will give us other bonuses. So we can get +2 survival. Again, feel free to read these tooltips if you want to. These are all additional skills. We can get +1 stealth and +1 survival. Survival affects some conversations. We can get +1 lore and +1 survival. Lore also affects some conversations. A lot of these skills can affect conversations. There are a lot of things that can affect dialogue options. We can get +1 stealth, +1 survival, +1 athletics, and +1 mechanics. I might go with athletics, because this reduces fatigue. The effects of fatigue. +1 athletics, +1 lore, +1 lore, +1 mechanics, and +1 lore, +1 mechanics as well. I think I'll go with athletics and lore. Yep, let's go with that. We can change our appearance a little bit. So this one is fine. Also, the main downside of the Godlike race is that they cannot use healths at all, ever. You just can't use that item slot. Which is fair enough, they seem to be quite good. So let's change the colors a little bit. Like so. Yep, that looks fine to me. And we can choose our portrait. I'm actually okay with this one. Well, this one looks pretty good, but it doesn't fit our sub-race all that much. Yeah, let's choose something that will fit our sub-race, like this one. At least this one is way more accurate than the fire version. Alright, and we can choose our voice.
Now I am the leader of the group.
Oh, and by the way, the voice that you chose here isn't just fluff, it also affects dialogue options, which is pretty amazing. I love that.
Steady does it. What is it? Follow me.
Let's go with Stoic. And our name. So, Marbs. That's our first character. Alright, let's get started. I won't be doing a whole lot in this first episode because the character creation alone took a while. But I'll go through the initial dialogues at least. Now, some of the dialogues are voiced over, but most of them aren't. It's mostly the most important characters and or main story related things that are voiced over.
Everybody stays close to the wagons, got it? Stay out of the woods, and beasts take you if you were planning a stroll through those ruins up there. Whole area's crawling with hut-dwelling types who would be happy to stick an axe in you for trespassing. So mind that you don't track mud on their sacred blazing rocks. Tonight, everybody stays put, and in the morning we'll get the path cleared. Gilded Vale's less than a day out. Understood? Touch of the rumbling rock, could be. There's a stinging beetle around here, carries it. You'll be fine once it passes your innards. Unless you don't drink water, course. Which case you'll be dead in a day. There's a berry grows in these parts, small and pink, called a springberry. About the size of a fingernail. Give you cramps if you eat it, but the frontiersmen make a tea from it. Calms the insides. Should get you through the night. You might check around, see if you can find some. Meanwhile, I'll see if we can scare you up some water. I know you want to hunt before it gets much darker, but see about refilling our water first. Got a sick one here.
Okay, so where would I find these berries?
They grow on a bush that's common round here, kind of funny looking. You'll know it when you see it. Doubt you'd have to go far off the road to find one.
What are those ruins?
Nothing you won't see on half the hills of Air Glonfoth. Money to be made selling their knickknacks in Defiance Bay, if you don't mind getting stuck with Glonfoth and arrows now and again. They didn't build them, but I'll be the effigy if they don't watch them like a mother bear. Of course, all the ones around here have been ransacked 10 times over. Got nothing left worth half a pawn, so I hear.
And yeah, as the message says, your character's attributes, skills, class, brace, culture, and all kinds of things can open up new options in the dialogues. So, who did build the ruins?
Different names for them. Settlers called them Ingwithans. Nobody that liked them enough to stop them becoming ruins, tell you that much.
Is it dangerous out there?
Not if you hurry about your business, and not if the weather holds up.
What kind of weather do they get out here?
This time of year? Rain mostly, and wind. But there's a different kind of wind out here time to time. Locals call it a beowick, born out of the ether, the spirit's path. Never seen it myself, never cared to.
Well, I'm sure he mentioned this for a very good reason. What are these huge rocks coming up out of the ground?
They don't got Adra where you come from? Well, it just grows up out of the ground like this. Goes deep like tree roots. Some of it all the way to the heart of the world, you believe the stories. It's more like a shell than a proper rock. Easier to work if you're a mason. Got all kinds of strange properties. Seems to have some kind of life of its own. Dies if it gets dug up. Loses its luster. Folks think it probably grew at one point or another, but not these days. The soul butchers in Defiance Bay use it for different things. I've heard tell it can hold a man's soul, but I don't care to see it. Got enough to worry about without seeing something like that.
I'll go see about those berries then.
Hold on. Take someone with you. I know you're not some helpless tenderfoot, not like most of this lot. But you drop dead, I don't want to be looking for the body. Got a schedule to keep.
Okay.
Kalisha. He needs to find some springberries. Watch that he doesn't drop dead.
No promises.
What kind of guide says something like that?
Kind you can afford.
Don't listen to her, you're in good hands. And I pay too well, if anything. Off with you. Hayden should have supplies. See that you're equipped before you head out. We're in harsh country. Get your berries and hurry back. And if you get so much as a tickle of wind, you drop everything and you run. Something in the air tonight. If it's a beowick, we'll shelter in the ruins. Hut dwellers be damned.
So, that's that. Looks like we can get some supplies. And we got a friend to go with us.
You heard the man. Let's get going.
Now, there is a scouting mode down here, or it can be activated with left alt.
Sure.
Which can reveal some things. Anyway, let's have a chat with this guy then. Let's see what we actually have. We do have 100 gold, or whatever. You see a man wearing simple but mostly neat clothes. He's transfixed, however, by a ragged tear in the seam of his tunic.
Brought a whole wagon full of goods to sell, but not enough shirts for the road. Say, is there anything you need? I've got some basic traveling supplies for sale if you'd like to take a look.
Okay, who are you?
Originally from the Adir Empire, but I've been trying to establish new business out here. Life on the road has brought some unexpected challenges, to be sure. And I'm sure you've noticed how prickly the locals can be. But But we're here to make the most of things, right?
We might as well try.
Something else you need? Looks like we're settled for the night.
Tell me about the Aether Empire.
It's not as big as it used to be, but it's still big. The mainland is a continent northwest of here, but the colonies used to include Raed Ceres and the Deerwood. About 150 years ago, Deerwood won its independence from the Empire. A fact our companions are quick to remind me of.
Why'd you move all the way out here?
Because it seemed friendlier than Raed Ceres? My brothers took over the family mercantile business a few years ago, and there wasn't enough for me to do back home. I moved out to try and expand.
Sounds reasonable enough. That's high-minded of you, which is a diplomatic reply. Seems like you got the short of the stick. Short end of the stick. That's the rational reply. Let's go with the diplomatic one. So, these options will actually give you ranks in your reputation. And reputations, like the message says, represent how people perceive your personality. There are no inherently good or bad reputations, but they matter for some classes, not for ours. Mostly priests and paladins. But yeah, this will basically change how various people perceive you, based on your reputation. So let's have a look then. We can buy something. I'm not sure if I really want to. Might be better to just save money, honestly. We don't have a lot of it. I think I'll just save money. So I have to say, the game actually looks pretty damn good. We can zoom in quite far, as you can see. But anyway, I think this first part has been long enough already, so I'll get started in the next one. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this first episode, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.